So I'll get us started here with our next panel. My name is Keaton Mankey. I'm a senior here at UND, originally from West Fargo, North Dakota, and I'm majoring in communication while minoring in sports business. I'm also one of the current interns for the communication department, serving as one of the department campaign coordinators, and I'm excited to be the moderator for the health communication session here. Thank you all for joining us. For those that haven't introduced yourselves in the chat box yet, please do that just by typing your full name and then your current affiliation, whether that be your current position or current university or high school. For the high school students and their parents in attendance today, we'd like to remind you that there is a scholarship opportunity related to this event, and I'll get that shared here in the chat box once we get started. Our annual Communication Appreciation Day event sponsored by Northwestern Mutual is an incredible way to showcase our alumni within our department, but to also highlight the endless opportunities that exist for students within our communication major here at UND. We're excited to see you all here and hope you appreciate the knowledge and inspiration that you gained today. Now it's time to meet our panel. We'd like to remind you that all of our panels today are composed of UND communication alumni, and we are proud of the great successes that they have found. Presenting first will be Sydney Johnson. She's a client manager with WEX Health and graduated in 2018. Second will be Jessica Sobolik. She is the executive director at the Unity Medical Center Foundation and got her undergrad in 2002, followed by her master's degree in 2017. And going third will be Maddie Haberlack. She is a senior communications specialist with United Healthcare and graduated in 2017. If you have questions, please send them in the chat to myself or the entire group, and we'll do our best to discuss each question after our third presenter has gone. Without further ado, I'll turn it to Sydney to get us started.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes, all right. Never know if technology is on our side or not, but we'll go for it. So I will attempt to share my screen. Let's see. Looks like I spoke too soon. Technology does not want to be on our side. Let's try it. Oh, let's see. I had it all queued up and everything, and it just decided it didn't want to be our friend. Keaton, are you able to throw the PowerPoint up on there?
Yes, I am bringing it up right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's working from a Mac. It's sometimes the privacy settings.
Right. Just going through my email quick here. 1 second. Here we go. Okay. So I'll share my screen here. Oh yeah, it did switch over. 1 second. There we go. Is Jessica, would you mind maybe going first here and then we can get that switched?
I can do that, not a problem.
Yeah, I'll get
Thanks,
it.
Jessica.
Well, I wanted to get this over with anyway. No. No, it's great to be here. I'll jump right in. I'll make sure that I can share my screen first, maybe before I go any further. 1 second. So hopefully this is popping up for everyone. My name, as Keaton mentioned earlier, is Jessica Sobolik. I am the executive director of the Unity Medical Center Foundation in Grafton, North Dakota. That is about 40 miles north of Grand Forks, a town of about 4,000. So definitely a smaller area than Grand Forks, where I previously worked and went to school, but it's been great so far. I want to share with you a presentation that I titled From Print Journalism to Health Comm, How Did I Get Here? And that might suggest that I know exactly how I got here, and now I'm going to tell you. But this is actually a question that I ask myself all the time. How did I get here? I never would have guessed that I would have ended up in health comm. And so I think that's common for some people, but I'm grateful that it worked out this way. And so if there's anything I can share about my experience that might help some of you, I'm happy to do that. So my health comm career actually started with print journalism, a topic that was addressed in a session earlier today. I got my first job in print journalism on this volleyball court behind Squires Hall. So maybe some of you on this call recognize this place. I was playing volleyball. Someone said, what do you want to go into? I said, print journalism. And they said, hey, I work at the Herald. How about I get you a job there? And I said, that's great. So that is to say that you just never know where the opportunities are going to come up, and take those opportunities, look for those opportunities. That's where mine started. So also I'll add that despite many challenges and the questions of its legitimacy, print journalism is still valuable and was in fact very valuable for me, even though I'm not currently in that field anymore. But I thought I'd share what skills I learned throughout my career that are broader than the categories of journalism, public relations, advertising, etc. My advice to you as students is to learn those skills, and then you can succeed in any communication field, really. So as I mentioned, obtained on the volleyball court, my first job was at the Herald. On my first day, they said, here's your desk, here's your computer. Oh, the phone's ringing, you better answer it. Just like that. I said, oh, so I really jumped right in. Luckily, the guy on the phone knew what I needed from him, and I wrote down everything he said, and it worked out all right. But what a way to learn the art of the interview, to just dive right in, and through experience, how to learn how to ask questions and listen to people that you've probably never met, and either over the phone or in person, and to put that all together in a way to craft a story that people will be able to understand. And so those are some of the things that I learned at my time at the Herald. I also learned really the grammar and punctuation, which I know some people don't like to get into that too much, but they're important. People have, in my experience, have really paid attention to that. And I've always run into people where if you get that wrong, they might not react in the way that you would have hoped. So those are, that's my skills that I learned from the Herald. After I graduated from UND with my undergraduate in 2002, the Herald wasn't hiring at the time, and they were not yet owned by the Forum. So I applied and got to work at the Forum as a copy editor. So there I learned the skills of design and again, that attention to detail that really were helpful for me moving forward. But at some point, I decided that working 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday at the Forum was not really great for me. So I did make the move to 8 to 5 magazine publishing position at BBI International. It's got an office in Grand Forks. It was based out of Colorado at the time. That's a long story as to how those two connected. But suffice it to say, at this position, I learned how to manage more teams. It was a small company when I started, and then it grew. So I sort of was at the top of that, or the beginning of that history. And then as we added people and we added publications, I was managing teams of people and managing different publications, monthly publications, quarterly publications, and fitting all that together in a calendar so we could meet those deadlines. We also did quite a bit of event planning. So how to do that is where I really learned the event planning skills and learning new technologies, because this company primarily at the time focused on renewable fuels. I did not know anything about renewable fuels when I started working there, but you talk to the experts, you learn how to ask those questions and listen, and then I quickly learned more and more about renewable fuels and was able to communicate that succinctly. So I've spent 6 years at BBI, and then that was going so well that I got this great idea that I should create my own magazine publishing company. And so we created interactive media with our first publication called Northern Fitness Magazine. And this was one coworker and I decided we were going to do this. And that was a great learning experience. I learned a lot about advertising. I had never sold advertising before. That's challenging, right? I learned about the importance of having a web presence. And so our intent was always to start with that print hard copy and then move to the web where we could have some online tools that really helped people. And that did not take off. So guess what? Huge failure. So it lasted a year, I think, and then we folded. But as I pointed out in this slide, fail is just a first attempt in learning. I cannot say that this was a bad experience for me. I learned a ton and it still worked out. I was able to move on and keep on going. So don't be afraid to try, and it's okay if you fail. You're learning either way, right? So from there, I was in Fargo and now moving back to Grand Forks, and I applied and got a job at the UND Alumni Association and Foundation. They really liked my magazine publishing experience. They had their own alumni magazine, and so this was a good fit for me. So I came on board to the UND Foundation and then shortly moved to the School of Medicine and Health Sciences to do some alumni related tasks there for that specific audience. So I spent 10 years at UND, and during that time, so valuable, learned so much, definitely the art of storytelling, even more so than the inverted pyramid style of print journalism. So here's where I'm starting to move from print journalism into health comm. Learned a lot about branding, marketing, public relations, but that alumni and donor relations piece as well. This is where I start to learn that the medical education process and just healthcare delivery in general is very unique from any other job occupation. And I think all occupations are unique, right? But this is where I really start to get into learning about how that works and what the terminology is. And it was all very different. But again, talk to the experts, ask the questions, and you'll learn along the way. Also learned a lot about rural healthcare delivery, how we hope that it would go in North Dakota in particular, and what the challenges were there. So I learned a lot about health comm during this time in my career. And also at that time, chose to go back and get my master's degree in communication. I think I was the last UND master's comm class to go through. And that also, I specialized in organizational communication, which really helped me out in working with UND, especially large entities. And how do you get large entities spread across space to work together? So that was really invaluable for me. But then, as fate would have it, I was working from home during a pandemic, and a position opened up closer to home where I live in Minto. And this was the executive director position of their foundation. And I wasn't looking for a job, wasn't unhappy with my job at UND, but when it came up, it actually started as a marketing PR director position. That was what I initially applied for. And I said, you know, this is what I do. I think I can help out my home community and be a little bit closer to home. And you know what? I didn't get that job. They had another really strong marketing PR candidate. And they said, you know, we also have this foundation director position. We really like your alumni donor relations experience. Would you be interested in considering this? And to be honest, they kind of had to talk me into that a little bit because I wasn't envisioning that that's where my career would go. But now that I've done it and I'm 6 months on board in this position, it really is a calling, and I'm so glad it worked out. But I'm going from an office, or a UND large entity, to an office of 1.5, a half-time position. So that's been my new learning experience. Is you do it all. You do everything. You do accounting. I never cared for or took an accounting class when I was in college. That would have come in really handy. So I'm learning. I'm taking online courses about keeping the books, taking gifts, processing those, recording them, depositing them, etc. Nonprofit administration. Yes, UND is a nonprofit, but I never administered that. So now I am learning more about the do's and don'ts of nonprofit administration. I also put on this slide rural healthcare reality at UND. I know we always, we're hoping that we could help rural healthcare delivery in certain ways, but then you actually go into the rural communities and you find out here's how it's actually happening. And that's a little bit different sometimes. So I'm really learning a lot about that, the challenges. Again, the pandemic was a new thing that we never saw coming. So what are those challenges, and how do we communicate to people what they should be doing to help their healthcare? So that's been a new experience for me. And then lastly, just this kind of a shift in a desire to just help people. I'm just the conduit. I talk to people every day who want to help others, who want to give them a positive healthcare experience. And I'm just the person that helps them do that. I take their gifts and then I find a need at the hospital to channel those gifts. And so just that desire to help people has really been different from what I previously did, but I like it. And so it's great. So anyway, all that is to say is what I'd like you to take away from this presentation is just don't stress about picking the right communication direction. It seems to me, at least in my experience, that the skills you learn in any area will serve you well across the board. And also, secondly, that your job experience should build on itself. Each job teaches a new skill, and to just keep learning, keep asking those questions, keep talking to the experts, and you'll learn quickly. So that is my presentation for today.
Perfect. Thank you, Jessica. And Sydney, I have yours ready here, so I'll share my screen.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica, for going first, stepping in.
Perfect. Yes. I don't know. Can you see that there?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for bearing with my technical difficulties. You'll notice on my next slide that my passions include technology, so that's kind of funny. But so as Keaton mentioned, I'm Sydney Johnson, speaking in the health communication department, and I currently work for WEX Health. And we can go to the next slide. All right, so just put a little kind of quick synopsis of topics I'll be covering today. I'll talk about myself a little bit, work experiences, UND experience, and then why a degree in communication. So as I mentioned earlier too, hi, I'm Sydney. I graduated from UND in May 2018 with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication and a minor in psychology. I currently live in Fargo, North Dakota, married to my husband, Aaron. We have 3 dogs. I'm a kind of that crazy dog lady. They're all at my feet right now being good, so I'm glad. And my passions include technology, dogs, family, movies and shows, football and golf. Go Vikings. Let's hope it's a better year this year. We can go to the next slide. All right, so a little bit about my working experience. During college, I worked a variety of positions, but primarily my first one was student assistant in the office of the vice president of student affairs. I did that actually my senior year. So that was awesome experience to kind of work in higher education, a little bit higher up office. And then majority of my time though was spent working with the orientation program. So for any high schoolers on the call coming into your orientation program, it's kind of your first, woo, I'm on campus exposure. I'm going to be a UND student. I did that for 3 years. And my first summer, I was a orientation leader, progressed into an intern that following summer, and then it actually turned into my first job outside of school as well. So that transitions right into there. After graduation, I was an orientation assistant for UND. So I actually got to work in 2 different offices. So one with the orientation program, but then also in the career services office, helping plan their career fairs. So that role was very event planning heavy focus. So I did a lot of planning those in-person events, and then also helped to bring online a new online orientation software as well. So got to combine kind of 2 of those loves there with event planning and technology. But then after a year of working that position, my husband graduated and we decided it was time to move back to Fargo. And so then I started working for a company called Dynamic Communities, and my title was chapter coordinator. In that role, it was also very event heavy. The company centered around Microsoft business applications, and the core function and heart of the company was planning in-person events. So I did that for about a year, and then a global pandemic hit. COVID-19. And so it had changed that whole company's plan, and in-person events could just no longer be a reality. So the time came where I needed to pivot. And that is when I found WEX Health and became a client manager, and have been in that role since October of 2020. So we can go to that next slide. Awesome. So then talking about what I do today. So I work for WEX Health. I'm not sure how many people have heard of WEX, but it's a rather large company. It's actually headquartered in Maine, and they have 3 different paths, payments, fleet, and then WEX Health. WEX Health being their newest like division of business. But essentially what WEX Health is a online benefits platform deliverable. So coming from that events world and then Microsoft type of world going into health benefits, I was very green to the subject. I said, what is this? But basically, if you are an employer, say I am ABC company and I'm offering my employees health insurance, well, I also want to offer them some added benefits on top of that, such as an HSA, FSA, HRA, which are all types of like health money spending accounts. So an HSA is a health savings, FSA is flex spendings, and an HRA is a health reimbursement. There's also a division for COBRA, but that's the other side of the house, not me. So I won't go into it because I don't think I could speak to that side very well. But basically, if those employees or employers want to offer those to their employees, they need to purchase or work with someone that can deliver those plans. And those are usually rather large companies, which in WEX Health world, we'll call them our partners. And so the partners will come to WEX Health and say, hey, I want to have these plans and offer them to people and make it easy, have an online platform, a mobile app. I want you to answer the phone calls, all of the above. And so that's what WEX Health does, kind of in a nutshell, at least in the department and division I'm in. So in my role as a client manager, I work directly with those partners. So a huge part of my role is relationship management and being kind of that main contact and liaison of communication between what the partner wants and needs, and then all of the other companies or divisions under us. So as far as like changing their plans, we want to update the online site, the mobile application, all kinds of things. So it's a really big tie between that technical knowledge and then understanding these health benefits and then being that main contact, both external and internal. So that's kind of that whole health experience of what I'm doing currently and still learning each day because there is a lot. But now I'll kind of transition into the communication degree and UND experience and how has it helped me in my professional career. So a little bit too, as like what Jessica talked about, there's a wide variety and things are very versatile. So, I mean, when I was in school, I never thought, okay, I'm going to go health communication strictly. Like, that's not where I'm going. I just kind of was like, hey, I want to explore all different areas and just see what kind of sticks, what clicks. And that's what's awesome about the communication major or minor or just the program itself, because you get exposed to a wide variety. You're taking classes in public relations, social media, Photoshop, web design, understanding traditional and non-traditional media, just to name a few. So you get to dip your toes in a variety of different topics. Real life experiences, you get to have deadlines, teamwork, expectations, all which become just very true in the working world. So you get your exposure to that in different courses. And then also just gaining that confidence when you are dabbling in those different areas, you'll find what sticks with you. And then I really think that helps to build your confidence because you're like, hey, I like this. I jive with this. Let's grow with it. And then your big one, the connections too. I put the photo of Dr. Lee and Dr. Kim and I there from graduation. Just the connections you'll make within the program are huge and just lifelong friends to have, and also networking too. But that is about that. And then just to go up on that even more, that degree in communication, versatile and diverse, valuable, marketable, allows for creativity and wide variety of experiences and opportunities. You're not just limited to one scope of work. And I think that really hones in just on, given my experience since graduation, your skills are very transferable, as I know Jessica mentioned as well. I mean, you can kind of go from this area to that area and just kind of where you're at in your life. So I think that that's huge and really valuable. You're not stuck in one particular area if you don't find that you love it. So yeah, that's why a degree in communication, a little bit about me and what I do. So thank you. And I will make sure to throw my LinkedIn and connection stuff in the chat. So thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Sydney. And then I'll stop my share here. Maddie, if you want to take over from here.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Hopefully this attempt will work. Oh boy, and how do I get it in presentation mode now? Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Maddie. I graduated from UND in 2017 with a degree in communication and then a minor in international studies. And during my time at UND, I worked on campus as a special projects assistant in the College of Business. I was a member of Alpha Phi, where I held a variety of positions, including the philanthropy chair. I was the photographer for a year, and I was also the merchandising chair. And then I also had an internship at United Healthcare in the summer of 2017, where I did external communications for their Medicare business, which is health benefits for people that are 65 years of age and older. So that was super fun and kind of really got me into healthcare communications in the first place. And just some personal notes about me. I love reading. It's super fun. My goal this year is to read 30 books. We're only on number 8, but we're chugging along. I really like cooking. I love painting my nails. I like to spend time with my friends, my family, and just doing fun things outside in the summer and enjoying the weather. And there's a little picture of me because my webcam on my personal computer no longer works. So we will not be on camera, but I currently am working at United Healthcare. I'm back. I do internal communications, and I'm a senior comm specialist supporting the operations organization. I've been there for 3 years now. Actually, I just celebrated my 3rd anniversary on Friday. And so I figured that we could just spend a little bit of time talking about what exactly internal communications is, because I feel like if you tell people like, oh, I'm going to study journalism, or I work in public relations, or I do advertising, people like really understand that. But internal communications is kind of all of it wrapped into one. It's just really focused on employees, which is super fun. So it's all about effective communication among people. So in order for organizations to be as impactful as they possibly can, everybody has to be working towards the same goal, mission, vision, what have you. And effective internal communications is really at the center of all of that, and how you can get everybody to be on the same page. And so it's all about keeping employees informed about what's happening in the broader organization. A lot of times, especially when you get into like really large organizations, people really understand what's going on what is going on in their teams, but maybe not what's going on in the broader organization around them, like new programs that they can participate in, trainings, leadership changes, policy changes, things like that. And it helps to bring the company's culture and values and their mission to life. We can like really drive all those things home through honed in messaging to help employees understand how they can bring a company's vision to life every single day. It helps people stay engaged. It was really important to communicate with employees and not at employees. And so that's like the number one thing. How can we communicate with people? And then like in the case of big changes, like organizational changes, leadership changes, if you're moving buildings, if you're doing anything like that, internal communications, effective internal communications is really a way that you can help ease people's tension and make them feel like a sense of calm if you're being transparent with them and they know exactly what's going on. And you can also, like on the more fun side, help bring a lot of excitement and a lot of life to the work that people are doing. So if someone, for instance, is taking calls from members all day, like, yes, that's their job, but if they also are participating in a fun training program or they won an employee recognition award, those are additional things on top of the work that they're already doing that can make them feel valued and accomplished. And then it also creates an awesome space for feedback. Feedback is so important in, I mean, every aspect of life, but especially in communications, no matter what you're doing. If you're doing news, if you're doing journalism, if you're doing advertising, PR, internal comms, everybody can grow and learn from that feedback. So creating a feedback loop is super important and something that we do really thoroughly in internal communications. So today I'm a senior communications specialist. And so some of the things that I do, it's really all across the board. I truly think communications is one of the most diverse degrees that you can get. You can do whatever you want. You really become a specialist in the field that you're working in. And so like, I never would have really said I want to go into healthcare communications. Like I didn't know. But now after being there for 3 years, I really understand the ins and outs of health benefits and operation. And so it's just really interesting. And I could move and I could be doing internal communications for a paint company tomorrow, and I would know all about the ins and outs of that business too. So it's just really interesting. But some of the things that I do right now, I do the communications for an employee recognition event, which is super fun. I'm part of a planning committee. So each year we plan this super special recognition event for employees who are just going absolutely above and beyond to help our members. And it's super fun. I write the content. I do some executive speech writing. We create videos. It's fantastic. I also do communications for a leadership event, and it's kind of the same thing. I'm involved on a planning committee. We do the content planning and the content creation, the speech writing. And then executive communications is also a really big part of my role. So within the team that I support, we do some all-employee meetings, and we write all of the messaging. We plan all of the talking points and the topics that are going to be talked about during the meeting. We also recently started a blog for the leader that we support, which is really fun. It's kind of a new space for us that we haven't really utilized before. So totally a learning curve, but really exciting. I write the posts, I do the content calendar and stuff like that. It's proven to be a little more challenging than originally thought, but fun nonetheless. And then we also do some mass emails, which can be on a variety of topics, but we send them through a mass emailing tool, not just like Outlook or something like that. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of learn a new system and technology. I will be the first to tell you I'm not very technologically advanced. So that is always fun. And then we just write and we edit and proof a lot of business materials too, and help people within the business tell their story as effectively as possible across the enterprise. And then just some communications for various employee programs, which is kind of similar to the other two that I talked about above. I write articles for our company intranet site. And then we recently redid our brand. So I've been doing a lot of brand and design work, which is fun. It's a new skill that I learned. I never took any like graphic design classes in college, but it's just something that I kind of picked up at work and I've really enjoyed doing, and was an opportunity for me to grow a little bit in my knowledge base and learn. And so that is about everything that I had. So I will turn it back over to you, Keaton.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So now we can kind of go into a question and answer here for a couple minutes. We did have a question sent in during the registration. The first question would be for any of you guys to answer there. Do you need any prior healthcare knowledge to kind of enter the health communication field, kind of like to the positions you guys are in today?
I would say no. At least from my experience. I guess I had a little bit in high school. I almost was a CNA. I basically did everything but take the test. So I had some like healthcare classes I had taken, but no, I mean, at least all the training I went through, it was on the job, and they made it very easy to pick up, I guess. So.
And I'd add to that, that at least in my position at UND, the job is explaining healthcare to the general public. And so it almost helped to kind of not be immersed in healthcare and to understand, here's how the general public views it. How do we explain it so that they understand?
I would totally agree with that. And I think it's really important, and more so important, to be a good storyteller and to be able to take that really complex information and disseminate it into a way that's very easy for people to understand. And you'll learn everything that you need to know, at least in my experience, on the job. And so as long as you have those like core competencies of being a great storyteller and knowing how to write within your company's style or like AP style, you're good to go.
Awesome. And then we have a couple more. So for someone graduating college or high school, what are some reasonable goals you'd recommend? So Sydney and Maddie, I know you guys have started more recently, so maybe what are some goals that you guys have set and achieved while you've just started? And then Jessica, you've been in the industry longer than them, so maybe some goals you used within like the first 5 years, and then maybe more some more advanced goals that you would recommend.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest goal I set for myself post-graduation was to do something that I knew I would be passionate about, but also do something that would challenge me, I guess, because you don't know totally, or at least I didn't, I guess, like what would be my bread and butter when it came to the work world when I came outside. So my goal was to just do something that I could be passionate about, but also would challenge myself and just kind of go from there. But
yeah, I would say that was kind of my goal too. Like coming out of college, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, I guess. And someone even asked me that in an interview for a job that I applied for. They were like, what is your goal like down the road in communications? And I was like, that's a great question. Like I haven't gotten there yet, but for now, I just want to like get a job where I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be passionate about what I'm doing. And then we'll go from there. And so now I'm there, I'm happy, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And I think like the next step is honestly just to keep learning and developing so that I can advance in my career. And we have like an employee development program that's super helpful at my work. And so they do like little card sorts, if you will. They have all these like qualities of a leader, and you like pick where you're good, where you're needing some work, and where you're just average at. And so I know what I need to do to like advance to the next level in my career. And so now it's just kind of me using that information and developing myself.
I don't know if I could add anything to that. I'm thinking back, and it was a few years ago that I was in this position, and I just remember, coming up with a variety of options. I think I interviewed at 3 different places before I finally ended up choosing what I thought was the right fit. And there's so many different factors to what is the right fit. It could be career-wise, but it could also be, where's your family located? Where are your loved ones located? Because that family support is helpful. And so yeah, it's just looking and keep looking and looking for options.
Awesome. And then another question we received, how do you address the COVID-19 vaccine fear? So likely communicating for your company through something like that. How would you kind of go about that situation? I know we have like an organizational communications class, and Dr. Kopflesh did a great job of presenting us with like scenarios like that, where you need to kind of work with a group and design a response to something like that. So how would you guys go about that in your current positions?
Well, I'll just jump in quickly and say that we all struggle with this. I think it's a very good question. What and this was when I was at UND when it first started, and even at Unity now today. I think that as communicators, I naturally want to jump in there and put my take on it or my spin on it. But what actually happened was we sort of looked at the Department of Health and said, let's get this message to come from one source so that it's consistent. But we're learning how everybody reacts to that. One message is different. So I don't have a solution to that. I know that there's strong feelings and it's really hard. I learned in my master's courses, it's really hard to change somebody's mind, right? Once they've decided, it's really hard to change that. But obviously just with the facts, with statistics, with the results that we've seen thus far, hopefully that helps. A lot of it's probably word of mouth through our little community here anyway. That's how we've been dealing with it, but it's tough.
Awesome. Yeah. And then our last question here, in a time where we've been like largely working from home, how would you guys recommend kind of staying organized and staying on task when you're not necessarily like in the office or have supervision at all times? So kind of what you guys have done to stay on task while working from home.
I know personally, I'm a huge fan of like task management software. So, I mean, dependent upon what your work uses, if you're Google, Microsoft, or other based, I've found different platforms on there that help just be like, okay, I need to do this, and I like to check it off. But I also am still a little old school, and actually this is my work desk, so I've got my big old notepad, and I like to scratch things off that way. But yeah, just having like an organization system where you could visualize it and have deadlines on those and calendar reminders, I know that helps me a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to like have a little space where you're just working and like being able to keep that same or a similar schedule as you would have if you were going into the office. It was definitely an adjustment at first and not something that I want to continue to do for the long term, but I'm used to it now, and I feel like just kind of keeping some semblance of a routine has been really helpful. And I've started, now that the weather is getting a little bit nicer, and I was last summer, I kind of took a break in the winter, but I'll log on a little earlier so that I can have about 45 minutes to go for a walk, get up and like move my body, because, work, you park your car, you walk inside, you have to get up to go to the break room or to go to the bathroom or to get water and walk. But you're at home and it's like 5 steps to the kitchen and 5 steps to the bathroom, and you just like aren't moving at all. And so I found it to be really helpful to just have that little bit of a break too.
I'll just add to that was probably one of the things that enticed me to start working at Unity, was that I was working at home. It was challenging, and I really liked the idea of going back to an office and working with people next door. We're natural extroverts, right? And all of my events went away, and I missed that. And so I just needed to get back into an office and work. And I'm glad that I'm in a rural area where we don't have as many COVID cases, and we can be a little bit more relaxed in some of those ways.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sydney, Jessica, and Maddie, for sharing your knowledge and advice. We really appreciate that. Now we'll take a quick break here, and then our advertising and public relations panel will be getting started at 3 o'clock.